I was complaining to God, and He totally put me in my place. Welcome back to God Nod. My name is Casey. If you are new here, I make videos of God working in my life to bear witness that life with Christ is a joyful one. So go ahead and subscribe. Today I'm going to share a God Nod that happened last summer when I was a Life Teen Summer Missionary in Georgia. This God Nod starts out with me sitting in a comfy chair, looking out onto the Georgia mountains, and it was right in the morning, and the birds were chirping, and there was like all these animal sounds, and it was just so beautiful. The sky, the mountains, the trees, just everything, the clouds, the sunrise, just so beautiful. And I was just in deep prayer and just praying and then like praising God for His beautiful creation, and I was just so at peace. And then I started hearing the middle schoolers come out of their little rooms and start playing games and everything, as middle schoolers do in the morning. And I started getting irritated because I just had this like silence with the Lord, and it was so peaceful. And then now kids have entered the picture, and they're just kind of like off to the side, being loud and being crazy. And my peace was disturbed. It wasn't that quiet meditation with the Lord anymore. It was that with me constantly trying to like get these kids' voices out of my head. And so I was like, God, can you get these kids to be quiet? Like, I want my time with you. You know, we were just having a great time, but now like these kids are like annoying me. They're annoying my prayer life right now. Could you like do something about it? Like, I just want to enjoy your creation. And then immediately after I prayed that, I heard this little voice in my head that said, Casey, they're my creation too. And I was like, oh, you're right. They are your creation. Interesting. And so at this realization of praying to God, asking Him to get these kids to be quiet so I can enjoy His creation, and God showing me that they are His creation too, I just smiled and just laughed because God is just so funny and so good. And I was able to turn it into prayer, and I just started praying for these kids. I was like, God, I praise you for these kids. I was just praising you for this creation, and you're like, hey, they're my creation too. And so I just started praising God for them. And then after that, I was so much more joyful. And then the kids became, like their voices in the background became part of my prayer. They became part of my peace that morning. Because I delighted in hearing their voices once I realized that they are good. That they are God's creation. And they're not supposed to distract me from prayer, but that I can bring their little annoyingness into my prayer and just bring it to the Lord's feet. And you know, it reminded me of Genesis when God created all of creation, and He said, this is good, this is good, this is good. And then when He created humans, He said, now this is very good. And I was just reminded of this fact when I was praying and thinking, you know, all of these trees and mountains, this is good, but these children, they are very good. And so 2 things I learned from this God Nod of mine. One, that no matter the circumstances or the difficult situation or whatever, like, peace is always an option. Like, we always have the opportunity to go to God for peace. Despite how many people are talking around us, God can give us that opportunity for peace if we only just surrender to Him and trust in His providence. Another thing I learned from this God Nod was that when distractions come up in prayer, like, they're a chance to pray for those distractions. So those kids, when they were distracting me from my prayer, I just started praising God for them. And I just brought them to the Lord and like, God, please bless them. Please, I just give them to you. And now I started incorporating this into my life. I don't know about you, but like sometimes when I'm praying, like my mind will start wandering off, you know? And I don't know where I read it or where I heard it, but someone advised me from something to do this, and this God Nod reminded me of it, of whenever that starts to happen, when your mind starts wandering off, So let's say I'm praying for my family, or maybe I'm just having heart to heart with God about something, and then I start thinking about the day and how much work I have to do. Instead of saying, oh my gosh, dang it, like, get back to prayer, I'll say, hey God, yeah, about work, can you give me the grace to do that well? Can you just help me to love everyone at work well? Can you help me to be a witness of your love at work? And so instead of like just blocking it off and like trying to create this wall, just like take whatever is distracting you and just like bring it into your prayer, and then make that your prayer. I don't know. Maybe try it out. See if it helps you. I know it's been super fruitful for me, but I'd like to know if you think it would be helpful. Since we're on peace, a quote that is pretty good from St. Teresa of Avila, she says, "Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing frighten you. All things are passing away. God never changes. Patience obtains all things. Whoever has God lacks nothing. God alone suffices." That quote is just solid. It's powerful, but yet it's so hard to live out. I had it like printed out in front of me for like 2 weeks, and I could like see it all the time. And those 2 weeks, I like had all of these little things of these like annoyances that came up, and I was just getting like so agitated. And I saw this quote, and now I'm just like looking at this quote, and I'm like getting frustrated even more, because I'm like, how did you do it, St. Teresa? Like, how did you do this? Like, this is so hard. And so my challenge to you is, next time you are agitated, like I was or continue to be, think of St. Teresa of Avila, and think of her saying, hey, let nothing disturb you. And you know, it might be impossible to be just completely at peace all the time, but it reminds us that that's our goal, and then that's what we should be. We should be peaceful all the time, because we should be able to trust the Lord in everything that we do and are. So remember that quote, let nothing disturb you, and aim for that. It's hard, but if we aim for it, God can bless us through it. And since we're on peace, I thought I would share, I just finished this book, Searching for and Maintaining Peace, by Father Jack. Don't know how to say his last name, so I'm not going to say it. You need to read this. It is just a gold mine. It is something. Like, it gets you to like really reflect, and it has so much like practical advice. Anyway, one thing from this that really stood out to me is it talked about how you know how we can be like, God, I just want to do your will. I just want to do your will. And then sometimes when we're faced with a decision, we can be like, God, like, which one's your will? Is it this one or this one? And then that can like cause us anxiety, because we want to do the Lord's will, but we don't know which one it is, and they're both good options. Yeah, he talks about that in here, and he talks about how like that's not very good. Like, that's good that you want to seek God's will, but that you shouldn't let it take away your peace. And sometimes you won't ever know between those two decisions, or between those two options, which one is God's will. And so sometimes you just need to pray about it, ask for the Lord's judgment, and then you say, Lord, this is what I think is your will. Forgive me if it's not, but I'm deciding to do this, and I entrust this to you. And I believe that even if this is not your will, that you can bring good out of it. Bam. Peace attained again. Yeah. That's just so good, because I know there's times where I'm like, God, I just want to do your will, but I just don't know what it is, kind of thing, or what to do in this situation. And I let it take my peace away a lot. And after reading this, I was like, oh my gosh, yikes, like, I'm doing this wrong. And the question that he uses in here of like, why seeking peace sometimes is more important than seeking God's will, here's what he questions. He says, why is it more correct than seeking the will of God, which is done with preoccupation, scruples, and a tense and restless desire for perfection? Because the only true perfection is that of love, and in the first way of proceeding, there is more true love of God than in the second. So, there's more true love of God by surrendering it, making a decision, surrendering it, and trusting the Lord will bring good out of it, rather than restless self-seeking and freaking out and constant thinking like which decision to make. So when we're in difficult situations, just remember it's most important to seek to be peaceful. No matter what happens, our goal is to maintain peace. So my question for you guys is, how do you maintain peace? What are your all your tips and practicals? So when you're starting to get agitated, what do you do to come back to that peace? Do you listen to music? Do you journal? Do you think of a scripture quote or a saint quote? What do you do? What do you do to remind yourself to enter back into that peace? Go ahead and comment below your answers. I would love to gain advice from you guys so that I can continue working on maintaining peace as well. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And remember, let your love for one another be intense and be a witness of God's love and joy today. Never be disturbed. Never be disturbed. Never be disturbed.